Snow falls quietly over Anchorage, Alaska, in the stillness of the night. A coffee shop door clicks shut. A young barista vanishes into the darkness. No witnesses, no struggle, no reason. And somewhere, far away from here, a man smiles to himself. Not because he was desperate, not because he was angry, but because he had planned this moment for years, down to the smallest detail. Israel Keyes looked like anyone else. He paid his bills on time. He smiled at neighbors. He flew under the radar so completely that even the FBI had no idea he existed. But inside his mind was a blueprint for death, one that didn't follow any pattern, any type of victim, any city, any state. He was a predator without borders. Serial killers have habits. They return to the same place. They choose the same type of victim, not Keyes. He called those killers amateurs. He would fly to another state, rent a car, drive hundreds of miles, and kill someone he'd never met before, using weapons he had buried years earlier in hidden murder kits. Then, without hesitation, he'd fly back home, as if nothing had happened. February 1st, 2012. Anchorage, Alaska. Samantha Koenig, an 18-year-old barista, finishes her shift at a small coffee stand. It's cold. It's dark. A masked man steps inside. At first, she thinks it's a robbery. She hands him the cash, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he forces her out the back door, into the freezing night. It's the last time anyone sees her alive. For Keyes, it was never about rage. It was ritual. He chained Samantha in a shed, turned up the music so no one could hear her cries, and went on a 2-day cruise with his girlfriend and daughter, leaving her in the dark. When he returned, he killed her. But the worst part, her family still thought she was alive. Weeks after Samantha's disappearance, her family receives a message. A photo, Samantha's face, eyes open, a ransom demand. $30,000. Her parents cling to hope. What they don't know, what they can't know, is that Samantha has been dead for days. In the photo, Keyes had sewn her eyelids open to make it look like she was still alive. The ransom is paid. Keyes withdraws the cash in small amounts, traveling from Alaska through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Each ATM withdrawal captured a blurry figure in a white mask and hoodie. The FBI now knows they're hunting someone who can move and kill anywhere. March 13, 2012. Texas. A state trooper notices a car speeding inside. Israel Keyes. A gun under the seat. Samantha's debit card in his wallet. He's calm, almost bored. It isn't the arrest of a panic killer. It's the capture of a man who's been planning for decades and knows this might be the end. In an interrogation room, Keyes leans back in his chair. He isn't defensive. He isn't remorseful. He talks like a man describing a fishing trip, and then he starts revealing secrets no one could have imagined. Murders no one connected. Bodies never found. States never suspected. Keyes describes his kits, buckets buried years earlier, filled with guns, silencers, rope, duct tape, and chemicals, hidden in remote woods, under rocks, in abandoned barns. When he felt the urge to kill, he'd fly to that state, dig up a kit, choose a random victim, and disappear again. The FBI realizes they aren't chasing a killer in one city. They're chasing a ghost across the entire country. Israel Keyes was born in 1978 in a remote cabin in Utah. No electricity, no running water. His parents rejected modern society. Moving the family deep into the wilderness of Washington state, he grew up isolated, hunting animals, breaking into houses, killing for practice. By his teens, he had already decided he would kill people one day, and no one would ever catch him. By the 2000s, Keyes was a father, a business owner, and a model neighbor in Anchorage. He paid taxes. He went to his daughter's school events. And in between, he flew across the country to kill strangers. His life was a perfect mask. To the outside world, he was a hard-working single dad. To his victims, he was the last face they ever saw. June 2011, Essex, Vermont. Bill and Lorraine Currier vanished from their home. No break-in, no witnesses, no motive. Keyes later admits he chose their house at random, just because it had no car in the driveway and no children's toys outside. He tied them up, drove them to an abandoned farmhouse, and murdered them. Their bodies have never been found. The more the FBI listens, the more they realize Keyes killed in New York, Washington, Vermont, Texas, and possibly even Mexico. He targeted men, women, young, old. He used guns, knives, strangulation, whatever felt right in the moment. This wasn't a serial killer with a type. This was chaos. By design. In custody, Keyes sets the rules. He will talk, but only if his name stays out of the media. Only if he can control the pace. And he warns the FBI, if they don't move fast, they'll never know how many people he killed. It's a race between his desire to confess and his desire to take his secrets to the grave. Keyes speaks with a calm, almost amused tone. He remembers every detail. The weather, the tools, the drive, but not the names of his victims. To him, they weren't people, they were projects. The FBI listens in silence, each confession twisting the knife deeper. Keyes explains how he chose his victims. He didn't stalk them for weeks. He didn't study their routines. He simply waited until the moment felt right. Sometimes it was a couple in a quiet neighborhood. Sometimes it was a lone hiker on a trail. Every choice was random, and that made him impossible to predict. Maps are spread out on the table. Keyes points to dots across the U.S. sites where his kill kits still lie buried. Some have already been recovered. Others may never be found. For the FBI, each discovery is proof of how far ahead Keyes planned. Years, even decades, before the murders happened. Keyes has one last condition. He will reveal more names, but only if the FBI guarantees a quick execution. He doesn't want to spend years in prison. He doesn't want the press to turn him into a legend. But the justice system doesn't move on his terms, and he knows it. On December 2nd, 2012, guards find Israel Keyes in his cell. A pool of blood, a handmade razor, a suicide note. Rambling, cryptic, filled with dark poetry and no answers. He took his secrets with him. The true number of his victims remains unknown. In the days after his death, investigators scour his belongings. Photos, maps, lists of remote locations, hints of murders that were never solved. But without his voice, the dots never fully connect. It's as if he erased himself from history, leaving only shadows behind. From Alaska to Vermont, cold case detectives reopen files. Families of the missing cling to a new painful possibility. That Israel Keyes was the reason their loved one never came home. From Alaska to Vermont, cold case detectives reopen files. Families of the missing cling to a new painful possibility. That Israel Keyes was the reason their loved one never came home. Keyes proved something terrifying. that a killer can walk among us without leaving a pattern, without a trace, without even a hint of suspicion. The man next door, the quiet traveler, the stranger in line behind you. The FBI still believes there are more victims. Somewhere, beneath layers of dirt and time, lie the last pieces of his puzzle. But they may never be found, because the killer with no pattern left nothing behind but silence.